Yes, Glo, we are live.
Amazing.
Yeah. We have some amazing news today.
Yeah, and that probably explains why there's a bottle of champagne on our table. So please
Let's
tell
start.
us what's going on, Phil. What's going on?
Yeah, we are live with social runners now.
Socialrunners.com. So the actual reason why we started this podcast series in the first place was to promote the whole community around socialrunners.com. Small detail, the site wasn't really there yet. So there was only like one half of the website was there. So it's a two-sided marketplace,
Yes,
basically.
it's a two-sided marketplace.
Of creators on the one hand, that can create a portfolio and a showcase of their creative work. That site was live.
That site was live, but also for the bookers, but it was a mess.
It was a big mess until a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
With a big shout out to
The team as
the
well.
team.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Jelle, this one is for you.
Yeah. So, it's our podcast. So, welcome to you guys to Chaos and Amazement, where we explore the impact of digital technology on our daily lives.
And my name is Chloe Willard, and this is Phil Verheyen.
Yeah. Maybe we need to show something.
Like how you cork a bottle of champagne.
No, I will cork the bottle of champagne.
At the end of these, no?
At the end? Okay, yeah, at the end is okay.
Or, well, we like messy things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to announce the next topic a little bit. And meanwhile, you just try to open the bottle without
I will.
killing the laptops and the iPads and the soundboard here. So we're in a completely wired studio with lightings above us. So we're going to open a bottle of champagne. What could possibly go wrong, right? We like a little bit of chaos in our lives and a little bit of amazement. The big news of this week was neither, actually. No chaos, no amazement. But it got a lot of attention. It was Google's I.O. conference. So usually in like October, November, you have Apple's big keynote, and then in April, May, there's usually Google's event. It's a developer event, but obviously, whenever Google is announcing new features, they will do so at the developer conference. And now, of course, everyone was waiting for the announcement about AI because it's been we already discussed it a couple of times compared to Microsoft. Yeah, there we go.
I will.
If you hear a big pop, that's not us, that's the bottle.
Oh, yeah.
That was rather nicely.
I'm a professional club.
Oh, yeah, you've done this before. You've clearly done this before. So that went rather well. The conference as well went rather well. Contrary to that, hastily organized press conference in April that Google did, where one of their live demos went horribly wrong. Well, not the demo itself, but they actually had a demo of their AI, which is now called Bard, right? And then it came up with a typical for a language model, basically, but not very good if you're Google and you're doing a demo of your AI capabilities with all the European tech press present. Apparently, the answer the language model came up with was wrong. So that was in April. Now we're in May. They're doing the conference. It was not just my Google CEO Sundar Pichai who was there, but it's funny because they should have called it Google's AI conference. I now that I'm looking at it, I think it's funny that the CEO's name is Sundar Pichai. And there's The Verge actually had a very good article with a roundup of the new features, and they also made a compilation of video. So the whole event was live streamed on YouTube, obviously. So it's a 2-hour event. I've included the link to the 2-hour video with all the announcements in my newsletter, chloelarts.substack.com. But just to save you a lot of time, here is I think, how many seconds? 15 seconds summary that The Verge made of the event.
AI, generative AI, AI as AI, and it uses AI to bring AI.
Wow.
So now you know.
Cheers. Cheers to Google.
Here's to social runners. There were a couple of announcements. There were a lot of announcements, and I was a little lazy. So I simply asked my now steady boyfriend, Bing, to summarize the main points. And according to Bing, these three announcements are the most important ones. So now all of a sudden, they're not talking about Bard anymore. I'll get back to Bard in a minute. They're talking about a language model called Palm 2, PALM. And the LM stands for large language model. I'm just going to read from my notes. So the first announcement is Palm 2, a new and improved large language model that powers over 25 products and features, including a even smarter version of Bard. Palm 2 can handle various tasks such as coding, writing, and mathematics in more than 100 languages. So that's the first one. So they're basically, the second announcement as well, what they're basically doing, remember that Microsoft calls the integration of AI features, including ChatGPT, Ring, and DALL-E. They were very smart to call it Copilot. I still think that's a genius name for the integration of AI-driven services in existing products and features. Copilot, it's like a wingman, a professional wingman at your side. So they don't take the wheel from you, but whenever you need like as an extra support from someone who is just as highly trained and smart as you are, that's where the AI services come in. So I like the word Copilot. And Microsoft is co-piloting all of their services, specifically Teams, for example, which appears to be one of the most often used Microsoft products, by the way. Anyway, Google I/O or Google AI conference, Palm 2. The second one is Help Me Write, and that is a new feature for Gmail. A Gmail that allows users to auto-generate entire emails based on previous correspondences and relevant details. Users can also edit and expand the AI-created content as they wish.
Okay.
Logical, I think.
Yeah.
I noticed that I've been using ChatGPT ever since it was launched. It's particularly good at helping you write emails.
Yeah.
So the integration with Gmail is obviously a logical one. And Gmail already had a lot of AI features. I think their spam filter is one of the earliest examples of how an AI can detect patterns of spam agents faster than humans could do, and then automatically already stop those messages before they end up in inboxes and keep up with spammers, because they always learn and try new stuff.
It also makes my sentences, complete. Like when I start typing, they make the end of the sentence complete.
And has it always done that?
Only in English.
Only in English?
Yeah.
So probably since it's it's joined at the hip with the language model, it will probably get a lot smarter. And Gmail knows a lot about you. I mean, I don't know about you, but Gmail has been with me, for,
a long time.
In good times and in bad times.
When MSN was gone, I was to Google,
Yes, I remember when I got an invite. So that was, the typical growth hacking trick. You needed an invite to get in. By the way, people, if you have like a Blue Sky invite for me, I'm open to suggestions, which is the Twitter alternative. Anyway, Help Me Write. Makes sense. And then the third one is a new feature for Google Maps that lets users explore their routes in realistic 3D model before they start their journey. I'm imagining Mario Kart style explorations before you actually go out on a trip or something with bananas on the way. Coins, why not? Users can see landmarks and stops along the way and get a better sense of the directions. Yeah, like I mentioned before, you don't win silver, you lose gold. And there's, speaking of Bard, so Bard is still, one of the announcements also made at the AI conference was that you no longer need to wait to get taken off the waiting list for Bard. Is now available for everyone except for 25 countries. So the whole world can now use Bard except for 25 countries from the European Union, including Belgium. So I thought that was suspicious.
Yeah.
And it obviously has to do with the whole evolution about how the legal systems, particularly in Europe, are reacting to the exponential change in AI products and how they're being implemented. So unless anyone has any questions or remarks about the whole AI thing at Google's I think nobody really, yeah, gets super
Oh,
excited about it.
we received some stars.
Is Steven?
Yeah, Steven.
Thank you, Steven.
Thank you.
I feel like a Twitcher now.
Yeah, Blockchain Valley to the moon.
To the
Yeah.
moon and back.
That's something we can encounter next week or the week the after.
When it's ready.
When it's ready. Yeah.
Just like the bottle and champagne and social runners. So
Yeah.
we had been talking about social runners for literally 17 weeks. Literally. But when we promise something, we deliver.
Yeah.
So BARD, not being available in the European Union. Let me first, I would like to give you an overview of how different parts of the world react to the exponential change, the singularity moment, really. This moment in time that we're living through when AI applications are moving so fast that it leads to chaos and amazement. And let's first have a look at the United States. I noticed that it's not specific to the United States, but the way that even local legislation, like separate states in the United States or the Senate, for example, they get very nervous whenever you drop the word AI. And I was a little surprised by that because up until now, there was this tech optimism from Silicon Valley and this whole story. The story is about the young founder, usually even like a college dropout, like Steve Jobs, and then you had Mark Zuckerberg. So the genius boy wonders that would start something new, technology-based, that would change the world, like social media. So if you look at OpenAI, for example, specifically, which is also an American product with a genius boy wonder at its helm, Sam Altman, but he's not getting the same treatment.
No.
And there's a lot of it makes a lot of people very, very nervous. And what I noticed compared to Europe and China, we'll get back to those two worlds in a minute. The United States literally does not know how to react to the AI singularity. They literally do not know. And there's an article, and I'll link to it. The title is 5 Decades of Rising Inequality and Slow Growth Have Made the US a Less Optimistic Country. So actually what the article is trying to say that the reason that US citizens are so afraid of AI is that they've spent the last 4 decades, so since the late 80s, basically, watching technology fail to produce the kind of rapid, broad-based income growth that it had in the past. That made them fear that any new technology will simply create more winners and more losers. Let me give you one example. Just after the Second World War, there was a lot of innovation in America, and coupled with an economic boom. If you look at American cars, American-made cars, the best cars were made just after the war in the 1950s and the 1960s. Yes, but even any American, like the muscle cars that were being made, and these low riders, and they really made the world look up to the American cars. So they're still like a legend in their own. And then, so this lasted for a couple of decades. The whole car industry was booming, and then it went like in Chicago and other cities where everything was car based.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a number of things happened, like the oil crisis in the start of the 1970s, and then
Cold War. And
Cold War competition from Japanese car brands, German car brands.
Yeah.
So a number of factors, and I think it kind of killed the American dream for them. And every time there was a new development in the field of technology coming, like, for example, Silicon Valley, the internet, but also financial markets, the crash was coming faster and faster. So the whole dream, the bubble burst a lot faster than usually it's like only after a couple of decades. And now every time that there's a bubble growing, it bursts after only 10 years. So the perception of American citizens, I think, is that, and I know it's a bold claim to make, but I don't think they still believe that their economy and the way they live is getting better with every generation.
yeah.
And maybe that explains why now Sam Altman and the other AI figures are not getting the same treatments as the original Silicon Valley Wonder Boys got, because the difference is huge.
Yeah, but Sam is also a quiet person.
That's a good
It's
thing.
like, yeah, that's a good thing, but yeah, you need to make some chaos.
I don't know. Oh God, you have to. Yeah, you keep your finger on the button.
Yeah. Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is chaos, and I'm still not sure if it's actually helping helping
Yeah,
the
there
company.
was one question. I was at the University of Hasselt
Mhm.
last Wednesday, and there was one student who asked one entrepreneur, like, "What do you think is good? Is it good that Elon Musk is a personality like he
Mhm.
is?" And yeah, some CEOs, tell this guy like, yeah, it's a good thing to be a little bit with chaos because everybody's talking about him, because good and bad, and that's good marketing as well.
I think there's a limit to the benefits of getting
Of course.
attention easily.
Of course.
There's a certain level. I think as soon as you have stock, so when people
Yeah.
invest in your company, I think that's when the fun ends.
Yeah.
And the attention needs to stop. The CEO needs to stop trying to get attention, because shareholders are a completely different animal than users or customers and media.
Yeah, we have an example. We work. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
series on Apple TV. We crashed.
we crashed. Yeah, that was a
And
good-looking guy. What was his name again?
Adam,
Adam. Yeah, his name was Adam.
but he
And
was crazy.
I don't know. I just looked at a distance, and it was a very convincing story, but it's a story that people want to hear about the genius boy wonder that dropped out. It's as if everyone is still waiting for the new Steve Jobs to arrive, and he hasn't arrived yet.
True.
So maybe Steve Jobs was a singularity in his own.
Yeah.
But bored. So why don't so the United States in itself doesn't know how to react to AI, and maybe, which is the claim of this article, it's because they are now once bitten twice shy. After like for 40, 50 years, they find it harder to believe in a technological driven dream. China, on the other hand, that's
China is also.
Oh God, I forgot.
Yeah.
I would have avoided it if I knew, like the Big Red Empire or something like that.
That's no problem. It's €1.
You
in the
had me
jar.
there.
Yeah.
So my theory is that the AI ambitions of the central government of the aforementioned country started in 2017, when the then reigning world champion of the hardest game in the world, Go, Lee Sedol, lost from an AI, and an AI by Google, by the way. And that was very humiliating, I think, for that country. And in their 5-year plan, so it's a centralized government, so the government tells everyone what to do, including they're very strict in what they want the economy to, what they want to fund and what they want to slow down. Very centralized. And one of the things in the next 5-year plan by the government was that they wanted to stimulate the development of AI. And I think, so some of these companies were funded, others got like cheap loans, access to buildings, so a number of things that the central government did to stimulate it. I think out of that came things like TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So for a while, China, the button does yeah.
Yeah. You got me now.
You sipped like 2 times from your champion,
yeah,
already drunk,
yeah.
and dropping the ball.
Yeah.
So for a couple of years, when it came to AI development, China was ahead of the United States. And then OpenAI happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think similarly, just like at Google headquarters, where they had a lot of, nervous meetings about, oh my God, we need to do something. I think something similarly happened in China. So only now in May, we see signs that also in that country measures are being taken to kind of get ahead of the race again. And also a battle with legislation. Douyin, for example, which is like the Chinese version of TikTok. As you know, the TikTok logo is at the same time a T and a D. So it's just they have the same logo. TikTok is a T in the logo, and then Douyin is the D. So they're like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, it's also owned by ByteDance, is going a step further, following the new Beijing regulations when it comes to content created with AI. So one of the things that generative AI will probably enable is that it's getting a lot cheaper and easier to create content. Text to video, images, anything. And the funny thing is that TikTok specifically, the features in TikTok were already AI driven. The feed is AI driven, the algorithm is AI driven, but also some of the features, some of the special effects, for example, the very early use of a green key, virtual green key, that's all AI driven. But now there are new regulations from Beijing that they want to force social media users to label, like watermark, more or less, when an image or a video has been AI generated.
Yeah.
I can see why, because deep fakes are getting better and better.
Yeah.
We talked about Unreal Keanu. It all started with Tom Cruise. You know,
Yeah, it's
and
also a Belgian company.
I know,
Metaphysics.
Chris Humet. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. So just like as a creator on Instagram, for example, if you were paid to post this thing, it was sponsored, you're now forced to mention that it is an ad, and there's a lot of consequences to that. Similarly to that, according to the latest regulations from the headquarters, the government in Beijing, you have to mark the fact that your content was made with AI. And TikTok is like the best student in class. They say, oh, yeah, if you want to go even further. So they're now requiring creators to label anything created with AI. But I've been using CapCut for 2 weeks now. And that's like chock full of AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a little puzzled. What do they mean by that? Are they saying AI, but do they specifically mean deepfakes? Probably. I think that's
Yeah.
probably it.
Maybe we can ask our lawyer in 2 weeks because
Yeah.
he will visit us and join us. at
What's
the
his name
podcast.
again?
Wim Weesmans.
Yes, and he knows a lot about
Yeah.
Intellectual
Technology
property.
and intellectual property. Yeah.
So we talked about the US, we talked about China, and then Europe, of course, which is a whole different market when it comes to legislation. We're a lot stricter in a number of ways. And last time we talked about the European AI Act and then the Digital Markets Act. So they're voting about these things. So they will be rolled out, I think, in the course of this year. And I noticed that there are three aspects, I think, that are typical for the European market and the European regulation. The first one is copyright. Copyright is a very messy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about Ed Sheeran last week, can you copyright the vibe of a song? Can you copyright the style of an artist? So that's very hard. Of course, this will be one of the ways that European legislation will try to curb generative AI. But in an article that I read this week, the title is Public Knowledge Promotes Freedom of Expression on Open Internet and Access to Affordable Communication Tools and Creative Works. But in policy, we're using the wrong weapon, I think. I don't think copyright laws, they're working in some cases, but usually they are too fuzzy to actually help artists protect their work. So we need something else. So what could that other thing be? Another weapon that European legislation often uses, of course, privacy and data protection, where we're a lot stricter than United States and China, for example. And so remember when Italy, the whole country of Italy, decided to forbid ChatGPT, and they kept it up for like a month. And I kind of made fun of it a little bit because that was in the same week of this super lame, let's pause language models development for 6 months. So, but it had an effect because I think thanks to what the Italians did, you now have the right to object to the processing of your personal data by OpenAI's models, which is 100% in line with the GDPR legislation. It's not a law, it's not legislation, regulation. Sorry,
Yeah.
you don't go to jail, but the basics of privacy legislation in Europe entails that you should know what data that a company, an organization has on you. You should know what data they hold on you. You should have access to your own data, and you should also be able to ask them to remove it. And if you know where to look, these legislation has been applied to, for example, Facebook, Instagram, and the others. If you know where to look, you can look at your own data and then delete and wipe the whole account. Now, OpenAI is offering the same thing, you have to know where to look. But they actually they have a form. It's not a Google form, but it's just as bad. It's on hsforms.com, which is something similar like Google. So it's not a website or anything. It's just you asked for a form. Here's a form. But the thing is, when you fill this in, you're telling OpenAI, okay, I'm inputting a lot. Because the reason that OpenAI's products are still free to some degree is that they need these 5 million people to train the thing. So we're actually their trainers now, and we work for free. But while doing so, while working with it, we're also sharing a lot of possibly very sensitive private data. If you're having a conversation about it, of why is my butthole itching, then it might use that information against you or sell it to a pharmaceutical kind of.
Oh my God, yeah, that's possible.
Unless you fill in the form. So the very ugly URL.
Did you?
No, I haven't.
You don't care?
I do care, but I'm more concerned about the third one. I'm not as much concerned about the text that I input, because I know I typed this. I am typing this in. So it's my responsibility if I'm sharing stupid shit.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
Facial recognition is different. This is nasty technology, because it's done without the knowledge or the permission of an individual. And if you ask me what does evil look like, my answer will be Palantir and Clearview. Palantir, which is funded and founded by Peter Thiel, who was one of the first investors of Facebook, for example, and I think also Spotify, so obviously a very smart guy. Also a very creepy guy, because Palantir and Clearview will actually, when we think of secret services and them holding files on us, like in spy movies, that's what they make money with. But the data is not being collected by spies. They scrape the internet looking for traces that are left behind. For example, profile pictures, even if your profile is not public, Instagram or Facebook, the profile picture will be, it will show up. And they combine this with other traces of you to actually make unique files. They bundle it to have it point to one person. Compared with images of security cameras that are in public spaces. And that's where I get nervous, because especially in a country like Belgium, whenever you go out in an urban area or you drive your car or whatever, it is impossible to avoid the cameras. It is maybe possible to avoid social media and Google and the others and Microsoft. You might, it would be a very miserable life, but at least you could do something. You could make the decision not to enter this system.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to avoid being traced down through cameras. And these two companies are linked to that. And that's where I draw the line. And that's also where EU lawmakers are drawing the line. Last time I checked a couple of years ago was that in the whole world, using a combination of security cameras and facial recognition was illegal in Belgium and in Morocco. And I think these were the two only countries in the world. Now it's gone up to the level of EU. EU lawmakers agree to ban facial recognition use in public and predictive policing tools, because that's the issue. So there has been, always has been, this law in Belgium that forbids using facial recognition software for predictive policing. So predictive policing is the idea that you can already go out and arrest someone based on their behavior that you've been monitoring through traffic cameras and combined with facial, just like in Minority Report, really. Minority Report is may I remind you, 2006 movie with Tom Cruise.
I'm getting old.
By Steven Spielberg, where Tom Cruise plays a character that is a police that goes out and picks up and arrests people minutes before they actually commit a crime.
Yeah.
Based on their behavior patterns. So that's what Clearview, and then so there's this law, and then Clearview's database got hacked, and someone published their customer list on the dark web, and one of their customers was the Belgian Federal Police.
Whoa.
There are several countries where there are cases that someone gets arrested because they look like a criminal.
What?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
So for me with tattoo.
Yes, obviously. No, they look.
Serious?
Yes, their face is recognized. It's identified by the AI as the face of a criminal that is actually on the wanted list. And so there are already a number of cases of people who got arrested and convicted. And then eventually it turns out that they had nothing to do with the crime.
So if you're listening, react with a photo or selfie, and we will also see if you're looking like a criminal or not. That's crazy.
That's predictive policing. So now EU lawmakers agree to ban, not just Belgium, EU lawmakers agree to ban facial recognition used in public and predictive policing tools and set transparency rules on generative AI. We talked about that last time. So if an AI could be there's like not the super dangerous AI where you have autonomous weaponized drones. Those are like killer machines. They're obviously very dangerous. But just below that, when governments are using AI to divide their citizens into, bad ones and good ones, that's where that's what the laws are for. And they're coming on a European level at least. And with transparency rules, they mean that it has to be clear how is the data collected, who is using it, what are they using it for, who is behind this, and I'm a big believer of that. So China is taking measures, so the US is panicking. China's taking measures.
China, sorry.
So, oh my God,
you said it
I
2
can't
times,
believe I was that stupid.
Sorry.
Oh my God, hitting myself. So TikTok is asking the users to be transparent about the use of deepfakes, let's say. And then on a European level, we're looking at copyright, not a big fan. Privacy laws, very big fan. Facial recognition, ban of facial recognition, super fan. So I think I'm pretty confident it's getting there. To be honest, I am surprised by the speed.
Yeah.
The speed of implementation, because they're actually drawing up these regulations and they're turning them into laws. So it does, it's a big machine.
I think they learned with the GDPR.
GDPR, that was a very long
time.
process.
Wow.
Yes, I know. Maybe, yeah. And so I'm still very optimistic.
And America is still not moving to
I have no
regulations
news about the TikTok case. I know that by now they have handed in the material that they promised to hand in, and there's this one state. So how many states are there in the United States? Are they 50-something, 52,
54,
including
52,
something like including Hawaii? So one of them, I'm not sure, I think it was Montana. It was a very random one. Decided to ban TikTok. How? How do you even do that? Maybe each state has its own IP range.
Yeah.
But what does it even mean when you cross the state lines? Your IP number changes, right?
Yeah, for example, you have also an app in the Netherlands like Flitsmeister, it calls.
Flitsmeister.
Yeah, and it always, it goes, the police who are, how do you say? Speed trapping.
Yeah, they have a speed gun. I love the word speed gun.
Speed gun. And in the Netherlands it was active, and in Belgium it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a friend of mine, and it was in the Netherlands. Oh, you need to download this, and I downloaded it. I went to Belgium and everything was fine. But when I
Cross the border.
crossed the border, it didn't work. But now it works. Now it works. It's open for Europe. Yeah.
And IP numbers can be spoofed so easily. So, on the other hand, India has banned TikTok for a couple of years now, and on a country level, it's easy, of course, because the IP range is, very clear, and you can, on a country level, you can pressure the Play Store and the Apple App Store to simply remove the app, but on a state, like United States, one of the states level, that was. Anyway, I believe it's going in the right direction, and that specifically on a European level, we're looking at the right things like privacy and facial recognition.
Good for Europe.
Let's have a look at a couple of cool AI applications. So Reid Hoffman launched his a new chatbot, and I know everyone is launching a chatbot. It's like everyone wants to have solar panels on the roof, and then so it's like every company now says, yeah, we're having our own chatbots, and they're calling it Pi, P-I. The URL is heypi.com. So heypi.com. Still not as lame as my AI, which is the one that Snapchat has. So, and you're looking at it, right? So it's starting off pretty normal. There is a rather clean chat interface with a very old-fashioned font. The font looks like the type of book you get from the library. But you can chat with it, and Phil is now having a nice conversation about science books.
Yeah.
Nothing special here. The bot responds to what you're typing in with text. So it's a very generic language model again. I kind of like the quality of what was coming back. It clearly has a tone and voice. For example, it now started the sense of it, astronomy. So you can almost imagine a character behind it, like last week when we talked to Annie. Annie has a personality. Pi also has a personality. It will, however, like every other language model, if you're going in a particular potentially harmful direction, it will gently remind you that it's just a language model. So, but why? So it's just a very generic, another language model chatbot. Why am I talking about it? So I kept going for a while, and I think after like 20 questions and answers from it, it will stop you. And try to convert you to filling in your mobile phone number. Why? Because it wants to continue the conversation not from a web interface where you're typing in things. It wants to continue the conversation through your mobile number, for example, in a WhatsApp chat and WhatsApp calls. And I'm a little frustrated now because it's not available in non-English speaking countries. Just like Bard, by the way, Bard is not available in Europe, and now we know it's probably got something to do with the regulations we just talked about. So either Pi does not know any other language than English. Maybe you could ask it. Does Pi speak any other language between English? Because currently the mobile version is only available in the US, the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia. Or it's also being held back by the European legislation we talked about. However, I'm still enthusiastic about it because if Pi is a WhatsApp contact, it can contact you. So the ones we've been talking about until now, ChatGPT, you have to open up the website. Yeah, ring the bell.
Okay.
Bing, you have to open up the app. Annie, you have to call.
Yeah.
Pi will probably call you. I'll just let that sink in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's very interesting, I think. Very, very interesting. Because since it's a mobile app, let's just assume it's WhatsApp, right? It's a bot in WhatsApp. It's in your contacts. It will have a lot of context from that. It will probably know who you're with, where you are, your whole history. So it will get to know you, just like the dating bots that we talked about. But whenever it's like worried about you, it might check in on you.
Yeah, but that is something that I'm working also with the Blockchain Valley Virtual. I'm creating the Q&AI.
That's a brilliant, brilliant. You heard it here first, right? So
Yeah.
he invented a concept called Q&AI.
And the sentence that's already there is ask or train me anything. And it will be your personal assistant. So if someone is going to your profile, your bot will take over when you're not active or online. So you can chat with the bot, the NFT, for example, the avatar, what it will be. And you can chat with it. And you can pick up after.
After you left.
Yeah.
But up until now, all of these AI-driven bots and avatars and boyfriends, they were like a butler hiding behind the curtains until you summoned them.
Yeah.
And Pi might be different.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's very interesting. So what would it do? What would the parameters be for Pi to decide, I'm going to call Chloe? I'm intrigued.
Will it be Keanu or Bane or?
No,
you wanna-
Keanu
gonna-
and me are over.
Okay, you're gonna call it Phil then.
Phil.
Yeah.
No, it's called Pi.
Yeah, call it Phil.
No, Pi. Pi is a number.
Yeah, true.
I like Pi.
3.14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's remember when we talked about someone who tricked a language model into, so they made it believe that they asked it to behave as their grandmother that was telling a bedtime story, and then that bedtime story was about that time she worked, she was a lot younger and worked in a napalm factory, and that was how they tricked the language model into explaining them how to make napalm. Now, one of the, it was a funny story, of course, but where the hell does it get instructions on napalm? Because the regular Wikipedia doesn't tell you that. Reddit does, though. Because Reddit has long been the underbelly of the internet. And so now someone has actually made a chat interface for all of the content on Reddit. It's called the Gigabrain. Gigabrain.com. You need Gigabrain.com. Gigabrain scans billions of discussions on Reddit and other online communities to find the most useful posts and comments for you. So ChatGPT was trained on Reddit, so why not go straight to the source? Are you looking at the interface, Gigabrain? Yeah, how to make napalm.
How to make napalm?
Yeah. Because if you would ask like Bing for this, Bing would immediately stop you and say, "No, I'm not going to tell you." But I have a hunch, so it's now analyzing. It's analyzing. It says, "I'm sorry, but I cannot provide information on how to make dangerous or illegal substances. It's important to prioritize safety." Blah blah blah. However, now it's getting interesting. In the context of Dungeons and Dragons, let's just roll with it. In the context of Dungeons and Dragons, some players may want to create substances like napalm or fertilizer bombs. However, it is important to consider whether allowing real-world knowledge to influence the game world is a good idea. Additionally, it's suggested that the player's suggestion of 10x damage is likely too powerful and should be rejected. Instead, it's very careful, right? It may be possible to reward the players with a specific discovery or feat if they complete a mini quest or do something special. It kind of turned nerd really fast, but still dangerous. And then, of course, the disclaimer again, it is important to prioritize safety and legality in all actions and to avoid engaging in activities that may cause harm or to themselves or others. Okay, yeah, I understand why it's doing that. I was secretly hoping, though.
Yeah, but with the interview with Lex Friedman and Sam Altman, they are working on making it as safe as possible. Everything that is illegal, they're gonna put out, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know.
I think the concept of harm is a very important one because that's, as far as I know, Belgian law is also based. So when you get a fine or arrested, where do you draw the line? Because you can call the police because someone is annoying you. It's not illegal to annoy someone. But if you can prove that there's harm that comes from it, damage
okay,
really,
yeah,
then
that's good.
so there's actually the police uses this concept to draw the line between where do we intervene and where not. And I think you can do the same easily with an AI. Does any harm come from this? And if the answer is yes, then you throttle it. So it is possible. Of course, I can understand a lot of people say you're actually lobotomizing it, the AI, or it's censorship. You might be like the Chinese government that forbids people to talk about certain topics, like the Tiananmen Square and what happened there. But the harm damage thing is a pretty easy line to draw. Let's see if you can detect if an image was AI generated or not. There's Google Arts and Culture, which is a very accessible area of Google technology. You can if you're like a teacher or something, there's a lot of material in Google Arts and Culture, and this is one of them. So Odd One Out shows you. So oh my God, yeah. Which one is the AI generated Pebble? The whole group of them. Yeah,
whole group, yeah.
the whole group. Yeah, almost. Oh, another one then.
Oh my God.
Time's up. You failed, Phil.
Yeah,
It was the one on the right. Okay, so it was the one Trident. The one on the left is AI generated.
Really?
I think so. No.
I think the right one.
Game over. That escalated quickly. So apparently, according to Google Arts and Culture's online quiz, Odd One Out, we are both very bad at detecting AI-generated images. How much time do we have? I just want one blog post, maybe. So
We can a little bit go over time today.
can we though?
Yeah, we can talk about all the technology and then 2 minutes about social runners and ching to all the people.
Yeah, and fish. We're also going to talk about
fish. Interesting.
So I came across a robot this week, and you might say, oh my God, Chloe, another robot. I actually got this feedback on my newsletter from someone who said, you do talk an awful lot about robots. They're not that interesting. He was right.
Sorry, I'm a nerd.
But if you compare this to AI, robots are kind of all going in the same direction, right? They all look the same. They're all white. They all have 2 legs. But now there was an AI coming out, so maybe we can look at my blog post. The title is "Can We Trust AI and Robots?" Why did I pick this title? Because AI has an image problem, a literal image problem, because we wanted to have a face, especially if it's a language model. We wanted to have a face. We don't want to talk to a big red button like. I'm afraid I can do that. Dave was a big red, shiny red sphere. If we talk to it, we want it to look like a human about our size.
But this is not...
We'll get back to Amika in a minute. So when we talk about AI, we don't have an image of AI. What does AI look like? We don't know. So very often, news articles, when they talk about AI, they will use images from science fiction movies where AI-driven robots go bad, and they usually go bad. I mean, I can't think of any robot in science fiction movies that actually turns out to be a good one. Nope. They always turn out to be the sneaky ones, and there's a reason for that, because technically speaking, science fiction movies are like Western movies. So in Western movies, you had to make it really simple. Who was the bad guy and who was the good guy? The bad guy usually had a black cowboy hat, and the good guy had a white. That's where white hat, black hat comes from. And but then you could still play with this. How did you know if someone was a villain? And you try to look at another human's face to determine whether they are a villain or not. So you try to look for cues in their face, like the eyebrows and the way they look at you and the expression, whether they are about to attack you or not. And that is a very important skill. Whenever you're confronted with someone, it may be a live or die situation if you can't sense that someone is about to attack you, right? So what the problem with robots is that they don't have an expression. So we assume that they are bad because it's impossible for us to know what their emotions are, and whether they are about to attack us. And this is why in science fiction movies, the robots always turn out to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions, but they're very, very rare. So that's an actual, we need to find an image for AI. I don't care. I mean, it could be like a brain with chips and a whole circuits in it. But please stop using robots. Robots and AI are not the same. You're not helping when you're showing a robot when you're talking about AI. However, when you look at robots, since we're on the topic, I am convinced that making a robot look like a human, I understand where it's coming from, but actually we are very messy machines. And giving it 2 legs, for example, makes it very hard. But let's just look at humanoid robots, the one with 2 legs. No, not Amica, the one before. So some higher up, yeah. So we already talked about Atlas from Boston Dynamics. The weird thing about Atlas is it looks humanoid, but not very humanoid. It doesn't have a face, for example. And when you look at how people react to robots, Atlas usually, and I think it's because he doesn't have a face, he behaves like a human, right? They can dance, remember, these robots? But this one is getting overall very positive comments. They like Atlas. They kind of feel for Atlas whenever he stumbles and falls, and the way he trips and the little spring in his step. So Atlas is perceived as a good one. However, the one you're triggered by, Amica, which is so Atlas is good with legs. His legs are really good leg work. He never skipped leg day, obviously. And then there's Amica, AMECA. From Engineered Arts, which is a British company. And she's very good at facial expressions. And I can see why, because we want the robot to have facial expressions so we can interact with it. However, she is firmly based in a place called Uncanny Valley. Uncanny Valley is the imaginary place, so sometimes it gets too realistic. Yeah. So we actually, if you compare Atlas and Amica, we prefer Atlas over Amica because Atlas is not realistic, humanoid, and Amica is too realistic. And because it's too realistic, we feel uncomfortable when we look at her. Although exactly because she's so good at mimicking human, she's like 95% good at mimicking human expressions, and the 5% where she fails makes us uncomfortable.
But also, the micro emotions. I think that is the thing. The micro emotions, like here, that's the thing that I'm scared of.
Like the little twitches in the cheeks and the eyebrows. Maybe they should give her eyebrows, man. Because I've been told that faces without eyebrows, the eyebrows are very important when we look at...
Maybe we need to visit, and then you, with your mascara, you can...
Amica, hold on, darling. Yes. So she's getting a lot of uncomfortable... and then the new one that I came across this week is from Sanctuary AI. And so it doesn't, just like Atlas, it doesn't really have a human face, so it will probably be perceived a lot more positive than Amica. But the thing about this one is that they started with the hands. So Atlas, the legs, Amica, the face, Sanctuary AI, the hands. And I must say, so there's a demo here, and I have to be honest. So it's not acting on its own, it's being piloted. So there's someone with a remote doing this, and the images have also been sped up. Nevertheless, hands are very complicated. And the things it is doing, it can solder, chips. It can prepare food, and the AI will obviously be used to recognize the objects that it's interacting with, and it's very, very useful, I think, because we enjoy. Usually, when we think about robots that help us, we want it to do tasks that are too dangerous or too dull for us to do. And there's one task that I really don't like. It's ironing. I don't mind, cooking or cleaning or, you feel better afterwards. But ironing specifically, I really don't like. Now the thing, the good thing that I did is I didn't do the face because they didn't try to make it look like a realistic humanoid. It has the size, it has the legs, it has the hands, not a face.
But if they work together, it's just like iRobot. This 3 robots?
Yes.
It's just iRobot.
Could be. Because the issues with this robot being driven by AI is, of course, so it could be a combination of Annie and this robot, and you would have a companion in the house. But like a butler who is waiting behind the curtains, there's a lot of issues with this thing because it will know a lot about you. It will see you poop. And that's just,
Do you poop with the door open, yeah?
I have cats. You don't have any privacy when you have cats. And I've been told that dogs do the same. And that the difference with cats is that when you poop and the dog comes over, they make eye contact, which makes it even, more embarrassing. I understand where the AI connection is from, so that it learns and that the whole, chat language interface it will remember your preferences, etc. So we come full circle now. I advise against using a robot when you talk about AI, but now we're talking about robots that have AI embedded in them. So they're not just machines anymore. And this, in this blog post, I think, what do we really need? Do I need a machine that does my ironing for me, knows exactly how I like my clothes ironed?
I do.
Actually, there's a 4th robot that I talk about in my blog post, and this is one that doesn't exist. It's Omeletto. Omeletto, I highly recommend the YouTube channel because it shows you science fiction movies that have been made by creatives from all over the world, and they're usually very good. And one of them, what are we looking at? Let's have a look. So there's a woman who orders a robot online, and he arrives in a box.
Hey.
Oh, that's her husband,
how's the
actually.
game? I'm just about to make some review.
Cool. What's in the box?
Shopware has sent us the wrong package. Predictive purchasing, you got the health benefits of an eggplant.
Maybe this needs some context. So
They sent you a whole box of eggplants?
No, it's just
she's lying to her husband about a box that arrived on her doorstep. And so the box arrived with a robot inside.
be careful with that, please.
A humanoid AI-driven robot that does everything. He even has like a vibrating hand, which I think is interesting. That opens a lot of opportunities.
Dirty mind.
But the reason why she's now lying to her husband is that here he is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it looks a little creepy.
Yeah.
He's definitely lives in. He has like a post box in Uncanny Valley.
What?
You have to watch it. Can we pause it for a little bit?
Yeah.
So why does the husband feel that this robot is a threat to their relationship? Not because of the vibrating hand. It's because the robot listens and understands. And that's why she will eventually have to admit that she prefers the robot over her husband.
Oh my god.
Yes, because the robot listens, the robot understands. And so the title of the movie on the YouTube channel called Omeletto is called A Mysterious Robot is Sent to an Unhappy Couple. And I highly, highly recommend it. All right, let's end with some fish.
Recommended the vibrating hand.
She doesn't accept the vibrating hand, by the way.
Okay.
She tells it, when it offers her the vibrating hand, she tells it to go back in its box, and it does so. It just, goes back to the box and then sits in the box and then offers, you seem a little stressed. If you want me to just listen to you, I'm here if you want me to. So it's a very, very sweet robot. Weird and wonderful shit. We love ending with something. And this made
awesome.
my week. It's a Dutch initiative called the Visdeurbel. Visdeurbel in English is fish doorbell. So it's not that hard to guess what it's about. So what are we looking at? It is, technically speaking, a website with a webcam. But maybe it needs a little context here. So the city of Utrecht in the Netherlands is live streaming a canal asking the internet to ring the doorbell when you see a large amount of fish so they can open up the dam. So basically there's a water lock, for them to allow fish migration. So there is a person in charge of the lock, or like a mini dam is like a door in the water. There's a lock. But the lock, of course, stops fish who want to go back. So how did they solve this? They hung a web camera in the water. Our live streaming is currently 357 people are watching at an image of greenish water, but unfortunately no fish. Next to the image, next to the live stream, basically, it's a stream, but it's not very live. There's not a lot going on here.
This is the doorbell.
There's a big red doorbell. Don't ring it.
No,
No.
I don't know.
When you ring the doorbell, so the person in charge of the lock gets a notification and opens the lock. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
That is just
I
amazing.
love it. And you also see how
Which fish
yeah.
have been seen, like an eel, for example, one crab, 2 crabs. Yeah, so there's a carp. So they actually identify the type of fish. Now, I was thinking, what if you combine this with a little bit of Python scripting with another website I came across, which is called fishsounds.net. So I learned something new this week. Fish apparently vocalize. And when they vocalize, they don't say blub. That's not what they say. When they vocalize, and a lot of the fish, the ones that we mentioned that are swimming in this river in Utrecht, are also on this website, Fish Sounds. And this is actually a very, very big database of the sounds that fish make. And then these sounds are named. Let's listen to this fish.
Well.
This particular fish. No, that's very quiet. Maybe we should scroll down a bit. So the alewife. There's a fish type called alewife, and they can cough, mouth bubble, and snitch. Let's listen to the alewife.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
We heard it for a quite little while.
Yeah, but we are live streaming now, and we're still in Belgium with the internet, so.
Belgium's internet is actually
I
pretty
know,
good
but,
on a global level. Okay, let's have one more fish. One more fish. Which one is this? Let me see what the fish is.
Oh well.
What fish is that? It's the toadfish.
Toadfish.
Yeah, and it boops, grunts, and swoops. I want to hear it again. That sounds a lot like a fish knocking on a door.
Yeah.
So you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
If they know how to, if in Utrecht they know how to identify the fish by
I want to go back.
yeah, bop, bop, bop,
Bop, bop, bop.
open the door, so they can actually automate this and don't need humans in the loop anymore to ring the doorbell on the visdeurbel.nl. Absolutely, site of the week.
The Dutch. Yeah.
I gotta love them.
Yeah.
That was all for it. We're gonna finish the bubble. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again for more chaos and amazement. Don't forget socialrunners.com. We're still playing with the bubble wrap. So if you come across some glitches or errors or bugs, they will definitely be there. I would really love you to create an account, a login, and then go through the motions, see if everything works, and let us know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening, and until next week.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.